Good evening. My name is Skaggs, and I'm excited to be here with you all in our History of the United States 512. This week I decided to look at Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. Last year we had the pleasure of visiting Monticello on our 8th grade trip. I was amazed at the combination of architectural styles that were there and just the overall ambiance of the place. The entire place is gorgeous, and it just shows his planning and patience in building it. His travels in Europe are easily seen in the redesign choices after he returns. It takes nearly 40 years to complete it, and its architecture is a fusion of French, Greek, and Italian and other European influences, which are easily seen if you walk through the house. Along with architectural choices came novelties that were built into the existing house and then of course added to the additions as he built them. Some of these adaptations or these addings that he did were machinations, things that he had seen that were machine built that were very interesting. One of those was the wine dumbwaiter that would descend into below the house where the wine cellar was kept, and like a regular dumbwaiter, would bring it right back up into the dining room, which was really kind of cool to see. You can see it in the dining room, and then you can also see it underneath the house when you visit in the actual wine cellar. Another one of these is his dual closing doors. When you shut one door, it will close another one. These are located as soon as you walk into the rotunda in the front of the house and look back through towards the parlors. They are there, and they work on a machine base. And you shut one door, and it shuts the other door as well. They're large French doors, glass French doors, and those are spectacular to watch in motion. One of the guest rooms is dubbed the James Madison room, and I loved the James Madison room mainly because I'm 6'2", but James Madison was short. James Madison was around 5'4". The bed in the Madison room was actually built for Madison. It was built into the wall, kind of like a closet, and the length of the bed was only 5 foot 5 inches in length, and to accommodate President Madison. The room itself is octagonal, something that we'll see later on be echoed in another project of his, the Poplar Ridge Estate, and it's a very interesting room, quite larger than I thought it would be, but very interesting. But my favorite room in the house was the library. It's not shocking. I'm a little bit of a nerd. And the study that went with it. Jefferson is famous for one of his quotes, "I cannot live without books." And I kind of echo that. His drive for scholarly study is evident in how he built the house. And he devotes 2 rooms for a library, and then a third that's a study. My favorite part about this is that his bed is kind of an in-between area. It has a portcullis on either side, and on one side it opens up to his study, and on the other side his actual bedroom, the remaining dressing room that would be there. And I think it shows that he constantly had it on his mind of study and scholar and seeking, knowledge seeking, and amazing to be there. After the War of 1812, the Capitol had burned along with the Library of Congress, and of course his main intentions, or one of his biggest ideals, was that democracy cannot exist or cannot come to fruition without education. And so when the Library of Congress, a staple, somewhat of a symbol of education and that work towards democracy, when it burns, Jefferson approaches the government and offers to sell his 6,487 volumes to them to start this rebuild of the Library of Congress. And of course they would buy it from him. The final price tag was $23,950, which it's a hefty sum for 6,000, nearly 500 volumes. Unfortunately, in 1851 the Library of Congress would burn again, and around 2/3 of the Jefferson collection would be lost. What is left can still be seen at the Library of Congress today. This exhibit just kind of makes it real when you get to the Library of Congress, of this idea that democracy can only be possible through education. His push for education, his search for knowledge. Last year, watching the 8th graders make that connection between Monticello and his collection at the Library of Congress was magical. Making history real, making these larger-than-life people real is incredibly important. They messed up. They weren't infallible. They were people. And towards the end of his life, he was said to have nearly 26 family members living at Monticello. He said, "I am living like a patriarch of old. I am surrounded by grandchildren and great-grandchildren alike." I think it goes to show us one step further, just a little bit more of who he was as a person. He would die, fittingly, on July 4th, nearly 50 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And if you ever get a chance to get to Monticello, I strongly encourage it. It's a fantastic site to visit.